Hey, what's good? What's good, everybody? It's May Money and it's Katie over here. Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday night over here on the Millennial Gaze. It's what time is it for you, Katie?
10:30.
10:30. Yeah, see, it's 7:30 over here on the West, but I'm happy to have you here. I know it's late for you,
It's
but
not late.
this is story time, something new that I wanted to show. Let's see how this works. Let's go.
Story time. So thanks everybody for watching our latest React video. Uh, I think we're almost or at 4,000 views right now, and we got a lot of great comments. So that also kind of inspired us to do another one.
Yeah. And
It was a
so
lot of
yeah, we
fun.
wanted to do another one. I'm gonna call it like kind of like a story time sort of thing. This is us just reacting to a very interesting one tonight. So we have a woman. Her name is Jenny. I don't know her last name. Maybe we can figure it out throughout the video. If we can get a little bit more. I haven't really been able to catch it besides Jenny, but I'll just keep it there. She is a woman that was indoctrinated into like Mormonism, extreme like white supremacy, extreme like American acceleration or excellence or whatever the fuck they call it. Just very extreme ideology when it comes to religion and being American and who is American and who should be a part of the American society. So this is going to be a very interesting episode and video. We're just going to go. She's going to tell us all the story, and we're going to just go ahead and react to it and share our thoughts as we go through this. I really think that this is important. Really. And you can maybe share your thoughts before we get started. But I think this is an important topic because if we are going to get through something like what we're going through, we need to start understanding the stories of people that aren't like us. And there are, when you start to see this woman's story unfold, there are a lot of people like her that are still being indoctrinated into this today, this very day. And it, from the sound of this story, you'll find that it seems like something that's really, really hard to get out of. And she was just one of the lucky ones. And so I think that this is a very important kind of perspective that we should all look into. I want everybody that's a viewer to have empathy for this woman because I mean, I think this is just kind of scraping the surface of the experience that she's had. So everybody be kind in the comments, but please also like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Well,
Katie, before we get started, do you have anything?
and too, we also have to emphasize the strength that it took for her, because it took a lot of strength to realize that she was in the wrong, and the group that she was involved with, it's not right. And then even more strength to finally be like, no, I'm out. Because I think from seeing some other stuff from her, she was from a small town area too, right? Or a small area, I think.
Oh, very small.
Yeah.
I believe she says Arkansas. From
Yeah.
what I remember when I was watching this one today. But it's on here.
And stuff like that, the small towns to so many people, and probably people like her, until she realized where she was at, that's just their everything. So having to get up and just leave everything that you've known behind, and probably friends and family, and this is a lot deeper than what it looks like on the surface.
Oh, for sure. 100%. All right. So before we get started, oh yeah, we can see it. Perfect. I think StreamYard is starting to like me a little better. Everybody be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. And this is Jenna. This is her video. Everything will be in the description box below if you want to watch her full video without us blabbering over it. But her life as a Christian extremist. So let's get going.
Oh, I think it's muted.
Oh, shit. Never mind.
My channel. Thank you for being here. I know that there's a lot of great stuff out there on YouTube, and it's an honor to have you pause on one of my videos. And yes, I took the earrings off because they were catching in my hair and I just can't focus on what I'm saying and I need to focus. Kev bought me these beauties for Valentine's Day a couple years ago. They're from a local Navajo silversmith and they look really pretty on my desk now. I think these are ponytail only earrings and I'm not doing a pony today. Before I start this video, I do feel like I need to share a little bit about who I am today for anyone who's just passing through and this is the first video that you're watching. 7 years ago, I walked away from the Mormon church and my abusive ex-husband of 24 years stepped away from my trad wife life, actually lost everything, every person in my family, my mom, my dad, my sisters, nieces, and nephews, and literally everybody. I'm a virtual orphan in the world, completely without a tribe, and I wouldn't have anyone to date if I hadn't met and fallen in love with a really beautiful man. We're raising 7 children together in ages from 14 to 28, I guess. Those are already raised. And because of everything I know from within this organization as someone who lived like this for my entire first 44 years of life, I have spent every day of the past 6 years doing interviews, podcasts, documentaries, writing my own articles, and managing my own social media platforms with 400,000 followers over on TikTok, my following here on YouTube, so I can shine a light into the darkness. So no, I'm not just some girl who decided to hop off the Trump train because of the Epstein files. This has been a long work in progress. And I have had huge impact on reversing some of the damage done by people like myself. And again, I was born and raised, I was indoctrinated. And it's really important for people to understand that there are new batches of children being indoctrinated into this hatred every day. I also think.
Could you hear, like, in her voice too, just as she was describing like her past and her life, like how much it affects her? You could hear it. You're muted.
Absolutely. You're going to hear that throughout this whole thing. I'm going to let her run on just for one more second because I think she had one more thing that I wanted her to say before
It's important to share with you that I haven't scripted this video. I just have a list of bullet points here to kind of remind me where I'm going because I want my thoughts and experiences that I share with you from my past to be as organic and authentic as possible. I wanted this discussion with you to be very impromptu. So, why I voted for Trump.
So, one thing before we get into more of it, I'm just going to remove her real quick. She mentioned that there are batches of other people.
It's true.
Yeah, that are being like literally going through this right now, and I think that her being in like close enough and far away enough to be able to potentially help other people in these situations is important. And another reason why I brought this up is because we were talking about yesterday the white people only town, and which is like starting to kick up again, and that's the same shit that she's talking about. I'm pretty sure it's identical, just another reboot, another sort of way to try to do that. And from this story, we know that that's a bad idea. So let's continue. Let me make sure I got the right timestamp. Let me see. I'm gonna let her. I'm gonna let her cook. We just gonna cook through this. We're hanging out, right?
If you haven't yet, hit the like, hit the subscribe.
Why I jumped on board the MAGA train full steam ahead. Here we go. Donald Trump sold me on a mission. Make America great again. And the Democrats simply didn't do that and haven't done that. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about this, then please check out my interview with Daniela of Knitting Cult Lady that we did this past week, because she dives into how that is the number one foundational reason why people get involved in cults. You have something, it's all about the mission. And you will overlook how bad the leadership is if they have a mission that you believe in. So I did a video yesterday where I talked about how my childhood growing up in the 70s and 80s had felt really good to me. I started raising kids in the 90s, and then all of a sudden we had iPhones and this huge shift in the way society worked. And for somebody like me who's 50 years old, I saw society going in this direction that I thought was kind of alarming. And my Christian nationalist, alt-right, super conservative, white supremacist religion that I was part of was telling me that all of these things were signs of end times. And as my religious community was fighting back against these horrible shifts in society, Donald Trump came along, and all of a sudden we had this president who was on board with the same mission that my religious community was already engaged in, and that I, as an individual, was engaged in. And that was to make America great again, to turn back the clock and restore the way things always were. And it has been kind of interesting to me after leaving MAGA, after leaving the Mormon church, after leaving religious communities entirely, to go back and study political science from the very beginning of the creation of America and see how different parties had very specific missions and agendas, and how that the Democratic Party has really kind of lost sight of that. While certainly the Democratic Party has a platform and policies that they support, go ask the average American on the street if you could tell me about the Democratic Party in like one sentence. I think that most Americans would say abortion rights and gay marriage. When I've asked that question on my platforms, and again, I reach millions of people on my multiple platforms, those are the two answers that I get the most, followed by feminism, and that's usually followed by a comma, and the breakdown of traditional family. I also get socialism, which is the breakdown and corruption of our economic system, and forced environmentalism. Those are the top 5 answers that I get from people. And again, the Democratic Party has not attempted to brand itself the way that Donald Trump did. So his mission, Make America Great Again.
Yep, that's exactly where I was getting ready to anyway.
Okay. So, like, none of those things that she said are bad.
Yeah.
On that list. Like, look at the countries that have socialism or like free healthcare, free school. It's like Norway, Sweden, a bunch of European
all the
countries.
Scandinavian countries, yeah.
They only have like 4-day work weeks, and like they're the happiest countries in the world. And you know, they've got environmental programs, and like I think it is very, like, as I was watching this, I think it's very important for someone like her to use her voice and like use her platform, because I imagine out there's so many, like, especially MAGA women that are like in this place of like, I want to leave, but I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And I think that we need to have some type of like, I'll even say it, like rehab center for some of these people, just to like, and
100, because honestly, I think a lot of them are quite abused. Like by the end of this, you're gonna be like,
absolutely no, it's not even a question. It's because, you know, when and she had said it, you know, this was her whole life. She lost everybody, which I kind of assumed when it started listening to this, but like that, like, you live your whole life thinking one thing, and it's obvious that she and a lot of the people around her, they didn't know anything else. And that's something that I can understand. I can. But that's also why it's important to get out of your bubble. And it's important to realize that, like, the shit doesn't just revolve around you.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm so lucky as like where I grew up and where I'm from Oakland, is like it's such a diverse place. Like I was just born and raised in one of the most diverse places I think I've ever been to on the planet. And so there is no bubble here. I've been exposed to pretty much everything that you can be exposed to. You know, except for actually like extreme racism and, you know, like bigotry and like crazy white people. We actually don't like have that out here. We have white people. We got cool white people out here. Actually, we got the coolest ones. Like, but Yeah, so that's the only thing that is actually quite foreign to me. And so, but I have to think about it in other ways because I actually was indoctrinated, I guess you could say, or whatever. I just was born in that open space, and
Hmm.
others aren't, you know? So,
Yeah. And, I have talked about on the show before, like, I was raised in the Catholic faith growing up and stuff. And, luckily with my parents too, they always and still have like this attitude of like, love everyone, treat whoever you want, treat how you want to be treated,
right.
that kind of thing. And even them who have been Catholics like their whole lives, even my mom now is like understanding the real difference between pro choice and pro life. And like, some of the stuff they'll ask me about because they're like, we don't really get this. And then I'll just try to sit down and explain. And they're like, okay, this makes sense. So
For
we need,
sure.
and they're in their 70s. And like, we need people to ask questions. We need people to do stuff. And like, you talk about being in Oakland, which in my mind is just like big city. And I take a lot of like examples of stuff where I'm from because my town I think has maybe 3,000 people in it. My
Oh,
hometown.
yeah. That's just a little bit smaller than my high school.
Yeah, yeah. My graduating class was like 150.
Mm.
And like to go to the nearest city from where I live is an hour and 45 minutes. Like big city, big city. So like New York, Philly, that kind of size. But
Yeah.
even to like go to a town that had like clothing stores and doctors' offices, even that was 45 minutes
I
one
feel
way.
it. Yeah.
And so like this is the type of thing when I hear people like this talking that this is where they're exposed, what they're exposed to because they don't go far
I feel it.
and they're just there. And it's a lot
Mhm.
of people because that's small of a town. Like I always used to joke that because I'm sure my mom will watch this and I'm sure she'll get a kick out of it. Like
Mhm.
when we would go to the grocery store, so my mom was a teacher and she taught like everybody and their kid. And then when the grandkids started showing up, she's like, I'm out, I'm done, I'm retiring. But we would go to the grocery store and over half of that time was usually her just talking to people because she just knew everybody. And it was one of those
Yeah,
things
my
where
mom's the same way. Yeah.
and it was like, everybody
My
knows
mom's still
everybody's
an instructor.
business. And so, like, imagine then living in a town like that for her, for Jenna, I think you said her name was.
Mhm.
And, everybody knows your business. Everybody knows everybody. You can't
Mhm.
even sneeze the wrong way, and people are like up your ass. So,
I feel it.
and then put like MAGA and Mormonism on top of that. Like, oh, that's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, so let's continue on this recipe because it gets pretty disastrous.
Keep on cooking, even though I'm a terrible cook. But anyway, I digress.
We'll just go right to the 10 mark. Just-
Is that a Hamilton hat? I love you.
Yeah, Steph Curry, he does a lot of stuff with Oakland Public Schools and I think
That's awesome.
SF stuff, and he gave hella tickets for the kids to go see Hamilton on Broadway, and then yeah, my mom, she's the vice principal at a middle school in Oakland, and
Oh,
so
nice.
she went and came back with this Hamilton, like a bag
Oh,
of stuff.
Aham. Yes, yes. By the way, we did not plan to dress the same today. This
I
was
know, no, not
literally
at
a
all.
coincidence.
All right, like, comment, share, subscribe. I hope you guys are enjoying this so far. Let's get back into this disastrous story.
Hmm.
I was a church girly and I was used to a bunch of men in charge. There were no women in charge. Women in my church could only be in charge of other women and children. Once a
Yep.
boy turned 12 years old, he could then be in a leadership position over women and have power over them. And like I couldn't even lead anything over 12-year-old boys. So I was totally groomed to love this strong man like Trump. And that grooming also led me to spend 24 years with a horrible monster of a man who was very similar to Trump with the grandiose narcissism stuff and some mental health problems and abuse and all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, that was my upbringing. church girlies tend to go for those, quote, real men, the alphas. In fact, I was really deeply afraid of kind, empathetic, benevolent men, like any of those beta type of guys, the simps, because to me, they might be gay and they were not the men that God had designed them to be. Feminine and masculine roles had been deeply indoctrinated into my brain. So Trump it got me going. Not to dig too much into my personal life, but I do just want to kind of soften what a horrible person I was by saying that my partner of the past 6 years is everything that I had been afraid of as a church girly, and my life is so happy. He's incredible. The real man stuff that I was sold was bullshit. Next up, build a wall. I was a white supremacist in every way, shape, or form possible to be a white supremacist. I would encourage you to go to my Substack. I've listed the paywall in this article so that everybody can read it and see inside the mind of a very young girl. And I like to post pictures of myself when I was a 3-year-old girl, when my white supremacist indoctrination started, and I began to see people with brown skin as evil monsters. I believed that America was a sacred land that God had created and preserved just for my chosen rich white ancestors and myself and our descendants, so Jesus could come. Because I was part of an organization that had like the whole end of days thing right in the name, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Our whole obsession was prepping. If you've seen Lori Vallow Daybell and any of this prepping stuff coming out of Idaho, like that was our whole entire life. That's the mission of the organization that I came from. So we were waiting for Jesus to come back to the earth to rule and reign. And where was he going to rule and reign from? From Jackson County, Missouri, which was the original location of the Garden of Eden. So
Missouri wasn't even a state.
Oh.
So,
is it that like?
Oh my gosh!
See how deep that just goes.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
I was writing something down real quick, so I just wanted to keep it in my head.
Yeah.
I'm sure that people will watch this and be like, "Oh my god, why is she laughing?" You can tell that she has been through so much trauma that like you just get to a point where you have to laugh just to be able to vocalize and talk about it.
She feels it. She's definitely uncomfortable talking about this shit.
Yeah, that's like, it's the only way she could get it out.
Yeah.
And like this stuff with the view of like the United States and stuff, like we know now just with everything, like Jesus wasn't white, which would make all these people just lose their goddamn minds. But like to be like, I feel so badly for her for having to like live in that bubble, because I remember when I lived near DC, we would drive down this major highway 495, and there was a Latter-day Saints church that like you could see off of the highway, and that place was freaking huge, but it had like all of these fences and shit around it, so it was like.
You said it was huge?
It was huge.
So we got the Mormon temple right up the street. I used to think the fucking thing was Disneyland when I was little.
That's what my husband and I used to call the one in Maryland. We'd be like, it's the Latter-day Disneyland up ahead.
Yeah, so there's a Mormon temple. You could actually literally see it right outside my window. I will send you a picture of it. Hopefully maybe I'll post it on the channel too. Like on like the post for YouTube. But yeah, it's a whole ass temple that you could see like right outside my window. You can't see it on the camera right here, but yeah, when I was a kid, I legit thought that it was Disneyland for sure. It's fucking huge. I can see it and it's all the way up the hill.
Yeah,
it looks like Disneyland. Like when it goes do 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 do, like the intro looks just like that. They don't let black people in there and shit. We were only allowed
and they
to
always
perform.
There's like these tall fences and stuff, and I think they have like somebody out the front of it.
Yeah,
like it's not. I mean, it is to keep people out, but it's also to keep these people in.
You ever seen the South Park Mormon episode?
No, I'm not like a super avid South
Oh,
Park.
they have a really funny. It's an old school one. It was years ago. It was like called the Book of Mormon. I think it was called.
Well, I mean, there's
That's the
also
name of
the
that episode.
there's
It's
also the
pretty funny.
musical that those guys wrote
Yeah,
that won 9 Tony Awards.
well, yeah. It's that one. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh well, that I know. Yeah, like oh
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
is
It's
that
pretty
is.
funny. All right, so let's just let her keep going. Where's my next one? Do the spiel for me real quick.
If you haven't yet, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Our live show is every Monday, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern, and we take comments. Ooh, excuse me. We will read your comments and chat with you, and we love to hear from you. So, and if you have ideas on what we should talk about, just let us know. And check
Totally.
out our Mehdi Hassan reaction.
Totally. All right, hold on. Let me go.
So this is
Let's
where the
play.
Christian nationalism part gets really, really, really big. Capital letter Christian nationalism with exclamation points in bold print. This land was a land preserved by God for just his chosen people so that Jesus Christ could come down and rule from Jackson County, Missouri, which my church called Adam Ondai Amen. And everybody was going to be burned prior to his coming, literally burned, actual burned, except for us chosen people who had been endowed in the temple of the Lord and cloaked with his righteousness. I genuinely wanted an all-white nation, and I wanted to send the Mexicans back to Mexico. Sometimes I like to think, what would old me have done in this instance? And I think that if Trump had changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America back then when I was this white supremacist, I think that I would have literally like jumped for joy. I would have had like a Gulf of America bumper sticker on the back of my little Honda Odyssey minivan full of rich white children that I was raising in my country club.
So, like, I like how she is differentiating, to give examples of like how she would act then versus like how she would act now. But like, I just want to address how scary some of that shit is that she was saying,
Yeah.
like what they believe. Because
Yeah.
first of all, like, and I think I've said this before, like the reason is it's named Gulf of Mexico is because when it was founded, that was all Mexico around it. That's what a
Yes,
Gulf
it was Mexico.
does.
All of that shit was Mexico. California was Mexico.
And like the earth was here for millions of years before, white people decided to create the United States. And
Right.
where they get these stories from is just insane. Like this, and this isn't just like this type of Mormon. It's the one I'm thinking too of, like the one with what's his face, Warren Jeffs. You know about that guy? Warren Jeffs. You know that guy who had like 37 wives.
Oh,
And like
no.
he also said he was a part of like the Mormon religion, and that like he was chosen by God, and like he was even in jail for like child porn and rape and stuff. And these people, even when he was in jail, would like still come visit him because he was the prophet. And it's just these people saying whatever they want. And then these people, like who she used to be, are so lost and searching for something that they will just automatically just like soak it up and say, this is what I believe.
Yeah.
And that is just, it's so sad that people feel like they have to find an identity through like a group and an organization rather than just being able to like look into themselves and say, this is what I like about me, not I need to be with these people to feel complete.
No, you're right. Okay, so let's let her cook. I need to get some hot sauce anyway.
Okay.
Behind a gate in my $1 million home and my privileged fucking white people life. That, by the way, was built on land stolen from the Tohono O'odham and the Hohokam and the Navajos and built by slave labor. So Donald Trump hating all those people that God hated and that my community had taught me to hate, that definitely got my vote. Okay, the next reason why I voted for Donald Trump is that I was a Christian nationalist, and he didn't believe in freedom of religion as much as he did in forcing Christianity on everybody else. And I know that he said that a lot in this election about
This
how
shit is
that
scary
like it's really
too.
important for us to have God. He has people in the White House praying. He has instituted this committee on religion, and he's doing everything that he can to get rid of actual religious freedom. And that is exactly what I wanted. I did not want any other religion to be able to be practiced except for mine. I wanted to root out all religion. There's a scripture, every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus is the Christ. And I wore religious underwear throughout my life from the time I was 20 years old and got married until I left the Mormon church at age 44. So for 24 years, I wore this religious underwear. And this
The
religious
dude
underwear
one.
had a little mark in the knee, just this little thing that they embroider into these garments, and it goes right over your knee. Here's a picture. And that knee mark literally indicates that every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus is the Christ. And I was fine if that was done by force. If we forcefully had to make every knee bow and every tongue confess that Jesus was the way,
That's so crazy.
totally fine.
Isn't
Next
that,
reason I voted for Trump was
bruh.
Trump's not even religious. Like, why do people like listen to this fucker speak and they're like,
Bruh.
oh my
That
god.
shit gave me the heebie-jeebies, bro.
Like, okay,
So,
I know in like the Catholic Church we'll have a lot of things where it's like you kneel, you stand, you sit, but like that shit, like
what the fuck, bro? That's scary.
and like there's no, oh my god, and just to like, and what does that even mean? Like forcibly, like when, like that
How,
could be
like,
that was so like
where?
left open that could be anything,
Right. Hell no.
and
Mm-mm.
and when you think about like the way that the Christian nationalism is happening, especially in this country, and they're saying like, you know, we need the freedom of religion, blah blah blah. Can you imagine if any other religion besides Christianity in the United States was trying to do what they're doing right now? Like these people want to all act all high and mighty because we're Christians, so we're above everybody else. And I'm not saying all Christians are bad, because they're not. And I know a lot of great people who are very religious and spiritual and consider themselves Christians or Catholics. But like there are people that like who she used to be, that if they would talk about how like they are just spouting all these Bible verses and saying that free speech, just my religion stuff, like I'll judge you harder because of that at this point. It's just like, oh my god.
Honestly, spiritually, there's something really sick with this shit. I really feel like it is. I feel like it's the exact opposite of
Because
everything that they think that
one of
they're
the
doing.
one of the thoughts that I always have,
It feels
especially,
very evil and almost like demonic to me, honestly.
so like one of the thoughts I always have is I think about if, you know, if Jesus were to suddenly just pop out in America, you know, they would deport his ass because he is, first of all, not white. He's probably dirty, and he's probably hanging out with all the people that y'all hate. So
Yeah.
you know, and he'll say like, "No, don't do this to me, bro. I'm Jesus," and they'll be like, "No, you're not. I see you with my own eyes," and like that's the first thing that they'll do. It's fucking Jesus,
Even white Jesus looked dirty. Shit.
right? But like, no matter what color you think Jesus is, he wouldn't hang out with you.
Right. All right. Let's let her keep going.
Yeah.
money, money, money. I believed in the prosperity gospel where God blessed his chosen children with riches. This was taught by members of my church. This was reinforced by my rich ass religious community. I believed that if I kept the gospel, that I would be prospered, and that people who were poor, it's just because they were evil. I belonged to the richest church on the planet. My former church was recently written up in, I think it was the Wall Street Journal. I'll try to pull the article and put it in the description here.
Ooh,
And
spicy.
the journalist said that they have so much money that they have left the stratosphere. They are no longer part of the global economy. They're so rich. They're almost $1 trillion organization. They bring in billions of dollars a month. So money was God's love language. So seeing the
No,
world through
that's
this
not how it
filter,
works.
the prosperity
Wow.
gospel
I'm
part
gonna skip.
of the indoctrination, quoting the Bible, but Yeshua preached humility and giving away all of your riches for other people and poverty and all those things. So
Jesus was
prosperity,
also
Christian
poor.
gospel, those words should never be strung together in the same sentence, in my opinion. Next reason why I voted for Donald Trump, his woman was silent. This is biblical. And it was a huge part of the indoctrination and the lifestyle that I lived. I was, after all, a Mormon trad wife, and a lot of my life was just sitting down and shutting up. I was used to a very specific patriarchy with only men in charge. It was called the true order of heaven. So even when I was inside of our religious buildings, the temples that you may see in your communities, my face was veiled. I was covered up when we were in the prayer circle because women are supposed to be silent.
That's some Handmaid's Tale shit.
Okay, what's funny on this point is I secretly loved and voted for Barack Obama. But
That's some
So
Handmaid's Tale shit right there.
that's
Mm-mm.
so that shit is like real.
Mm-mm. Like that, My, you know,
I
she
haven't
talks.
seen that because I don't think I can watch that show, bro. I really don't think I can.
It's a lot. I
Yeah.
started watching it kind of, like when it first came out. It was a little less crazy in the world, but like the last season just recently came out, and I will say like the ending is unsatisfactory because they're making another show that's like 15 years in the future or something. But it is so scary, the
Yeah.
similarities and stuff. And I always have to I kind of chuckle when she talks about like her partner now and how great he is and stuff. And it's funny because like my husband knew from day one he was not getting like no traditional wife. Like I am one of the things I love about my husband is I have my opinions. I am loud and I am not afraid to tell you what they are. And
Mm-hmm.
he is the one right behind me with like the pom poms going like you got this. You're better than all these people than like these people that are trying to tell you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're trying to silence is people like that.
Oh
And
yeah.
it I mean like with people like Melania Trump, it's like sure she'll keep her mouth shut because she's got endless money to just do whatever she wants, and then she just shows up in like a few pictures or some bullshit and doesn't say anything. And when she does say something, she just copies what a successful black woman says.
Oh yeah.
Like there's just these I don't understand how like these rich people are so effing lazy and they have all this money. Like
You know,
they're so stupid and they're so lazy, and yet the people that are the smartest and care about other people and care about this country are like begging for scraps.
there has to be a solution to this whole problem because it always comes back to the rich ass white people. It's not even people like her. Because I mean, yeah, sure, they were pretty wealthy, it sounds like, I guess, because this sounds like another paid membership sort of thing, like similar
Well,
to
yeah,
what we were talking about with the new one that's popping up. It's like these people like actually have money and fund this shit. This, you know what I mean? So that's why they're able to make it appealing or something. I don't know. I don't know. They have it pretty well planned out. I will give
I
them that.
think
But I don't. But they be convincing people. I don't know what it is. But let's keep going because she really does like this woman part is kind of disturbing to me. But you know,
putting a veil over your face like that's just so messed up. That's so scary because it's just like seen but
and
not
just
heard.
because the first lady didn't know her place. And I hated Hillary Clinton
hold on,
so
I'm
much
gonna
that in
wind it
college, and
back
I was
just for
broke. My
a little
family
tad.
did not have money. My face was veiled. I was covered up when we were in the prayer circle because women are supposed to be silent. Okay, what's funny on this point is I secretly loved and voted for Barack Obama, but Michelle didn't know her place. And I had a great disdain for her. And as we saw her kind of interacting publicly after we elected him, I kind of regretted voting for him just because the first lady didn't know her place. And I hated Hillary Clinton so much that in college, and I was broke. My family did not have money at all when I went to school. So I was living off of like this shoestring budget, sometimes couldn't even afford to wash my laundry, but I managed to scrounge up money, put a check in the mail to Rush Limbaugh's merch store and ordered this Hillary Clinton shirt. It was like Rodham Hood. She robs from the poor and gives to everybody. And I wore this shirt to class regularly at my racist, sexist, prepping church college in Rexburg, Idaho. The next reason why I voted for Trump.
I love how candid she is about it. Like, thank
She
you
was-
for telling the truth. I need to know this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She was also probably, and like this isn't anything to her now, but like she was probably only going to college for her MRS degree.
What's that?
You don't know what that means? So women will just go to college to find a husband, and like they'll have some major that's like history or English or something that's like you'll get a college degree, but you're mostly there to just meet your spouse. And that's their goal. And that's what like these people like Turning Point and Charlie Kirk, that's the demographic they aim for.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. And like this is well, like so
well, damn girl, I'm learning something today.
Well, so like for me,
right at dinner time, I did not know that, but that makes so much sense.
So like for me, throughout my life, like I was never very open about like dating or anything like that. I had my goals, and like that was it. I would do them.
Wow.
And so I met my husband when I was a senior in college, and like pretty soon after, it was like I knew this was it for me. But like, so some of my friends and stuff from back home would like joke with me and be like, "Oh, I thought you were actually going for music, not getting your MRS degree." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" Like, first of all,
Shit, I wouldn't have known what the fuck that meant. I've never heard that in my life.
And so like, and that was just a thing that people did because and it's still a thing that I think females do. And it was very popular in like the baby boomer generation and before too.
I was watching Miss Maisel.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a scene like kind of with the women in college that, okay, that makes sense. I was just watching the Marvelous Miss Maisel. And there was a scene when like they were all in college and it was all the women.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like only really there to like hook up with the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Oh my god. I learned something today. Thanks, Katie.
You're welcome, I guess.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, now I know what that means. If somebody say that, I'll slap the shit out of them.
Have you heard that saying, "The enemy of my enemies is my friend"? He hated everyone. He was always at war. Me too. Mexicans, China. So like the Chinese virus thing, that would have resonated with me back then. He was always at war with everybody. And I was raised in a community that we were always under attack. The persecution complex was probably my predominant reflex. So I absolutely loved that about him. It made me feel like somebody else was fighting the fights that I was powerless to fight. I'm halfway through my list and I feel like stopping. Next, he didn't seem to believe in baby killing, and that was the number one reason why I voted Republican. I didn't even know what the Democratic platform was about. I just knew that God had told us that if we killed babies, that the end times would come, Armageddon would wipe us out, and I would burn in Mormon hell, which is called the Celestial Kingdom. Next up, Israel was God's nation, and Trump talked a lot about supporting Israel. And to me, Israel was number one because they were the chosen people. So when Jesus came back to Jackson County, Missouri, he was also going to have like a winter home over in Jerusalem, where he
Jesus
would
fucking
go that
Christ.
part
I
of the
can't.
world. So to me, the Jews were God's other chosen people who had lost the chosenness.
Honestly, this whole ass story is so confusing. I'm gonna fast forward it a little bit, but
When Jesus was in Jerusalem, Jackson County, Missouri was not even a thing.
how the fuck Jesus gonna be in Jackson County, Missouri, Jerusalem?
He doesn't have like a freaking Star Trek teleport thing. Like,
Unless he did.
oh my
Did he?
god. Like
I
it's
don't know.
it's not about killing babies. If it were about children and babies, we would not need a foster care system.
Literally makes no sense. I don't know. Like the whole story is confusing.
It just like
Doesn't even seem to have like a linear fucking tale
well,
to
and
it.
the problem
Like
is,
not
and
even a good, well written one.
the problem is, and not her problem, but just in the scope of things in general, it would take somebody with a brain maybe 2 seconds to realize how this all just like contradicts itself and doesn't make any sense, because we have just research and scientific data that just, even not in like a spiritual religious way, proves that so much of this shit is just not correct.
But it just seemed, yeah, I mean, finally she was able to get out of it, but like,
There's still people that think like this.
oh yeah, for sure. But it's like 44. I mean, she broke out. She's 51 now or something like that. So 7 years. Like, damn, you must have been deep up in that shit.
But for some people, this is all they know.
Yeah. And that's all she knew. And I don't know. She tells like how she kind of got out of it. Let me jump forward a little bit. I'm going to go to 2141. Do the little spiel for me.
If you haven't yet, hit the like button. Sorry, hit the subscribe. We do our live every Monday, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. And you can comment, and your comments will show up on the show. We love to talk to you. We love to hear what you have to say here at the Millennial Gaze.
All right, I'm about to press play on.
I was deeply indoctrinated in American excellence, and as a Christian nationalist, God had written the Constitution. God had brought Christopher Columbus over from the old world to the new world. It actually says that in the Book of Mormon. There are scriptures that say that Christopher Columbus was led here by God so that all those end days things could happen and so the gospel could be restored. So America to me was God's chosen land. So anytime Donald Trump was like,
Wrong.
America's the best, America's great, we're the best country in the world, that just gave me goosebumps. And all of this is probably why I now wear black on the 4th of July for 7 years running. You will not find an American flag anywhere. Why do I want a flag with like the blood of ancestors striped across it? Like now I'm so anti-American as a reflex to this. Like not that I'm anti the citizens and the people and my neighbors, and I do appreciate having the freedoms that I have, but the whole cult of Americana with all of the American excellence, it just makes me want to barf. I cannot go to a fireworks show. I now see the excellence of humans. People are beautiful, and a border on a map is really meaningless.
That's
like
really
it's hard
beautiful.
for me to actually say the word America on these videos because I was so abused by the cult of Americana that was predominant in my cult of origin. Okay, next up, I loved that he was mean. I lived in a religious community that went out of its way to fight against Prop 8, which is just gay people being able to marry each other and have a life partner. And we fought against that with a ton of money and like really, really in super mean ways. I was part of a religious community that shunned one of our own family members when he came out as gay because he was no longer Mormon, but most of all, he was gay. My entire family collectively shunned this young man and other members of our family. And I was a part of that. Of note, my giant family has shunned me for the past 7 years. I have not seen
I've seen this thing on like, maybe it's Facebook, where, you see people who talk about like, oh, I don't want my kid to be gay when they grow up. Then you shouldn't have kids. Don't have kids then. Like, you love your kid no matter what.
Right.
Why is it any of your business what happens, like who they marry or what happens in their bedroom? It doesn't make them any less of a person. It doesn't make them any less of anything. We had a family member. My dad has a cousin who came into our lives like later in my life because they just like through Facebook reconnected with us or something. And she introduced us to her wife, who is fucking incredible. Those two are fucking amazing. And I don't give a fuck that it's two ladies that are married to each other. Again, they are amazing, and I love both of them so much. And these people that have the audacity to see a same-sex couple, and they're just like, "You're going to hell, bitch! No, you're going to hell. You're already halfway there. Shut the fuck up."
Yeah, and also like, it's just let's just keep going because this part gets very.
I'm getting heated.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, getting heated.
I said, let me wipe my Cheeto fingers on my computer 1 second. Let's get her playing.
My own parents, almost anyone in my family, since I walked away from my church and started doing that. Here's a story that I told once on my TikTok that I'm deeply ashamed of. We had these neighbors across the street from us that were non-members. They weren't Mormons. It was an elderly couple, like maybe like an...
Actually, one more little thing before she goes on. What happens if one of the kids is gay? So you in that society that new one that they're doing in Arkansas right now or wherever they're doing it in the Ozarks or wherever.
Yeah.
Like, so they're just gonna no gays and stuff.
They'll kick them out. They'll just kick them out.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I've watched enough like documentaries about different like cults and cultures that it doesn't matter what age they are. It doesn't matter. They'll just tell them to get out, and they will shun them. They will just shun all of them.
And also try to maybe like force it out of them and shit.
That too. Oh, absolutely. And like these Mormons and like super evangelicals, they have the like pray the gay away camps and shit. And I don't know how those are even still a thing, because those are some of the reasons.
They seem like the most abusive places.
Well, ever. And kids die. Like they'll die there.
Yeah.
And
they're those places are really creepy.
It's awful. Anyway.
Yeah.
And they're, well, funny, like probably my age, like 50s or 60s. Yeah, they're probably my age. And they had a son who was in his early 20s who was born deaf, who lived with them. And whenever a new person moved into my cul-de-sac, very predatorily, I tried to share my gospel with them so that they could receive Jesus and be saved. And they kind of bit. They started coming to some church events with us. One Christmas, we had some missionaries from my church who spoke sign language. So I arranged this whole thing where one night we all knocked on their door. They had taught us some Christmas songs in sign language. And we stood in the street under the street light and we sign languaged, what was it? Silent night.
Yeah. That's
Holy night. I don't remember all of it. But we did sign language Christmas carols for this family. I will never forget this mom and dad and their son and just the tears streaming down their faces. And it was this beautiful moment of human connecting with human. And then not long after that, we invited them to come to church, and they refused and said that they didn't want to know any more about our church. And I dropped them like a hot potato and have never spoken to them ever since. Did never speak to them in the cul-de-sac because I knew that they had rejected the gospel and I didn't want them in my life anymore. These were not good people. So I really had no reason to talk to them further. But wait, that's not all. I went a step further. Trying to think how old I was. I was in my late 20s at this point, and again, lifelong indoctrination into this religion. There's a little scripture that says that if you've tried to share the gospel with somebody and they've outright rejected it, that you should take your shoes and you should sweep the dust of your shoes in their direction as a sign that you were sharing the light with them and they rejected it. So now God knows to destroy their household when Jesus comes again in his power and glory. So I actually took a pair of my shoes and I stood on my front porch and I just swept the dust in their direction.
That is like some Passover. That's like some the Passover where like they put the lamb's blood on the door, mixed with when after a dog takes a shit and they like wipe their feet. Like that's the two images that like I have in my mind right now. And like,
oh fuck, dude. Like, what?
They weren't rejecting the gospel. They were rejecting y'all's crazy ass. Like, full stop. No. People can and it's that it just goes back to that whole thing with like people loving to like pick and choose Bible verses and live some of the Bible like it's fucking gospel.
They were like, no thanks, you guys are weird.
No thanks, we got the internet. We know what y'all are like.
We moved in, yeah, but we know about what's going on around here. You know what I mean? We don't dust off your Nikes all you want, weirdo. Like, what the fuck? Oh, I don't mean to make fun, but it's just like it's terrible.
It's our way of like how
it literally makes no sense.
It's how we're processing it.
Yeah, it just makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah,
the family had looked across the street at me. They would have seen cute little blonde Jenny and all these babies running around and like orange trees. And I opened my door and it smelled like sourdough bread, always just like wafting out of the door, and homemade jam and chicken in the oven. And it looked so cute. And they would have had no idea the hatred and rejection that was actually in my heart that had been instilled in me from this community.
No, girl, I think they knew.
They would have just thought I had dusty Nikes. Wolf in sheep's clothing. So I loved how mean Donald Trump was. He was dusting off the dust of his shoes on everybody. Still is. It's terrifying. He's not a nice person. Next reason I voted for Trump was guns. He loves them. So did I. We had so many guns. God gave us this beautiful free country so we could have all the guns that we wanted. And again, just had to go grab this from my dresser over there. My actual scriptures were just one giant war. They were rivers running with blood. It says millions of bodies everywhere. This is one giant battle. And this is supposed to be an instruction book for us in these latter days as we come into the end of the world and Armageddon and everything. So I knew that we were going to have guns so that we could defend God's nation from the unrighteous. I read this book 6 times before I went to college. So like this kind of messes with your head. I have a TikTok that I did recently where I was just reading a verse out of here, and that TikTok.
There's something that I watch sometimes, like the hearings and stuff that they have in Congress, just to see what people have to say. And I was watching the one day, and Jared Moskowitz from Florida was talking about why people don't need AR-15s, and he was like, "I know a lot of you like to go hunting. Have you ever gone hunting with an AR-15 and seen what it does to the deer? Because if you take an AR-15 and go deer hunting, there's no deer left."
Yeah.
And this is what these people are taking into schools and shopping centers. And like
all of this shit is problematic. Like literally this whole list, this entire list of literally every single thing. I have not heard one single thing that sounds comfortable to me in this entire list of shit that she used to be doing,
and
including like underwear.
Like, you know, she talks about she loves how he's so mean and stuff. I've never been like a mean person. I've held like hate for people who have hurt me and stuff, but like I don't really anymore. But like those emotions and stuff with hate and negativity and like resentment, that shit is heavy. You don't want that. The shit is so heavy on you. Like So to see people just...
Ooh, girl, hold on 1 second.
What's up?
We just got a tsunami warning.
In Oakland?
I'm reading it. Yeah, I just got a thing on my phone talking about 12:40 a.m., 1 a.m. Los Angeles, San Francisco, 12:40 a.m. was when a tsunami kind of warning was. What the fuck? Hold up. Okay, let's get through this.
And then go find a life jacket?
Stay out of the water. Stay away from beaches and waterways. I'm pretty far away from what kind of tsunami?
I mean, when I think of tsunami, I think of 100-foot wave coming to...
I know. Currently evaluating the threat. Let's just check real quick because I ain't trying to. Do not go to the coast. Why would we do that?
Don't catch a wave right now.
Okay, it should be okay.
Well, we've had
it's not like I have to evacuate or anything.
We've had National Weather Service.
Yeah, that's the alert that I got. And the wave will be hitting at 12 midnight. So, and it'll be a foot high. That's what it said.
Oh.
They'll keep us updated. Okay, I just want to check just in case, I don't want no tsunami to come during the live. They don't be warning motherfuckers no more. You know what I mean?
You just float by the window, just waving as the water takes you.
Hey man, we gotta be checking because they they be telling people late nowadays. They wouldn't do us like that out here in California.
I was gonna say it was probably now it's an over alert.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway,
but I'm actually uphill anyway. So anyway, let's keep going and get this lady over with. It starts to get pretty good. Let me make sure. Let me see if I can just jump ahead to it.
If you haven't yet, hit the like, hit the subscribe. We're here every Monday, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. We talk about a lot of cool things going on in the world, not so cool things, some tough things, some fun things. We love to interact with you. So when we do our lives, come comment and we'll put your comments up and we'll chat with you.
All right. Let's
just got banned for hate speech. The next reason I voted for Trump was not having to worry about being environmentally friendly. I don't even know why I'm crying.
I do. It's really a lot.
Hard to get my brain back in my old life. Yeah. Jesus was coming back. The world was supposed to burn anyway. And the global warming crap was just leftist propaganda and lies anyway.
Nope.
That's truly what I thought in my head. So to have a president stand up and say that was yeah, that's what I've thought all along. That's what my religious community taught me. I lived in Utah for a few years and there's no recycling. There's no recycle bin. They drive all the big Escalades and stuff. They're completely destroying their state because it doesn't matter. Jesus is coming back. Okay, next up, I loved that Trump was a family guy. All those kids, the trad wife.
Where?
Trump was always talking about family and kids, and they were all working together. And that's what I saw in my religious community, too. It was big families. It was the dad had a dental practice and all of his sons went to dental school and they all kind of worked together. Cool. So to me, that was just another green flag that he was an amazing human being. This one's kind of funny.
You pause it. Oh my God.
I voted for Trump because I believed that politicians were...
I'm like, this where?
Family? Okay. Is Marla Maples... Okay. So first of all, his wife...
I never seen that shit.
His wife is buried on his golf course. His first wife.
Yeah, 2 feet deep.
Okay, I said first wife because he's had
a peasant grave.
He's had fucking 3. And the last one, the most recent one, who God knows the last time they actually touched each other, was he cheated on her when right after she had Barron or some shit. He's got 3 baby mamas and some fucked up kids. How is that a family, man?
Well, she was a baby mama and with 2, I don't know, maybe 2 people, and So fucked up kids. I wonder how her kids are doing now that she's
The
out of
way
it.
that, so she said she's out of it for 6 years, but she
Yeah.
said her youngest is 7, so I don't think she has kids with somebody else.
Well, she said her youngest is 7, but she has in another video she said that she has a 28-year-old too.
Well, yeah, that could be all from the same guy because she was with him for 24 years.
It could be, yeah. So whatever, I don't know.
But like,
yeah, but he also has kids, I think, as well. So
okay, but like,
so that's why it's 7. I think she may have like 4 or
I
5.
don't understand how these people see a male figure like him and think that that's like the father, that's masculinity. You know what it is to me as someone who's married with a kid? When I think of like a good father, I think of somebody that like I don't have to tell him our daughter's routine because he knows it. He knows all her favorite foods. He knows all her favorite toys. He knows all her favorite shows. He is a parent. He doesn't babysit his kid. My husband, our daughter is 3. My husband has probably spent more time with our daughter as a father than he has with all of his kids combined. That's what a man is.
I mean, even when we were talking about Hunter and the way he was talking about his dad.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Y'all should check that episode out of the Millennial Gaze on Monday at 4:30
because it's back up
about Hunter Biden quite a bit at the end of the episode. You should check it out. It was really good. We kind of went into some of the parts of that interview because it was like 3 hours long that it wasn't just being blasted all over repeatedly in the internet. We went to some other places that hadn't been shown. So yeah,
you really learn a lot about Hunter and his past and his character and just the Biden family.
You really can, and
it's really good.
So yeah, that's been like the theme of the week. So yeah, let's continue with
sorry, I just had to say all that shit.
Good.
Evil. Mitt Romney had lost, and like he was the Lord's appointed politician, and Trump was a businessman, not a politician. So I didn't trust the government. I didn't trust police officers. And by the way, Donald Trump actually had some good quotes about Mormons, and he quoted the Bible a lot. So to me, like, he was as good as a Mormon. And I always kind of had this feeling that if
I'm gonna have to call bullshit on him calling out the Bible. I don't know. He can't even know.
2 Corinthians.
That shit. I don't know what the fuck he was reading, y'all, but it definitely no. I call bullshit.
Somebody like gave him the Book of Mormon, and the missionaries went and knocked on his door that he would join the church, and then boy, he would really have some like true power of God. And that is my whole list. Now, there's a lot of other factors that went into me being super enthusiastic about Trump and MAGA. I feel like those cover most of them. And I do just want to ask once again, I understand why you would judge me, and I understand why you might be furious to hear people say this stuff out loud, but try to keep my comment section nice, because it's actually really difficult for me to go back and tap into these former beliefs that were a huge part of my life. The reality is I had been brainwashed, groomed, and radicalized into a cult that turned me into an asshole. And I always wonder, how is this even legal? I belonged to a hate group that I had to pay a membership to get into, that taught me despicable things that caused me to hate and harm other people. And all looked so cute and wholesome on the outside. Like, they kept that exterior so friendly and so sweet and so like nostalgic. Like, it's just wild to me that as a 14 and 15-year-old girl, I would go to these church dances where my leaders would make me get down on my knees so that they could make sure that my skirt touched the floor. That's what they did in the 80s and 90s when I was attending youth dances as a young girl growing up. And they would go out of their way to make sure that I was modest enough so none of the boys at the church dance would see my knees. Like, God forbid that happened. And meanwhile, they're teaching me that Black people are evil and deserve to get AIDS. That the indigenous populations of the Americas were cursed and deserved the atrocities that the colonizing Europeans perpetrated upon them. Like, what the hell? Somebody make it make sense to me. It still doesn't make sense to me. But my life now makes sense because 7 years ago, I left the Mormon church. And if you haven't seen any of those videos, I was a full believing member. I bought into all of this hook, line, and sinker. I had raised all of my children in the church, sent a son off on a mission, was a temple worker, never missed a day of church. This was my life. It was my identity. And then one day I went to church, and the lesson in our women's group in that third hour of church was the evils of homosexuality. And I spent 10 minutes sitting in that classroom listening to the hatred and had a physical reaction to it. I was physically shaking. But I had this thought in my head that day, and this thought, people keep asking, how did you leave all this? It was one single 3-second thought that just swept through my brain. It was really unexpected. I don't know where this thought came from. I never thought this thought before. But the thought was this: I come to church to learn how to love people better. And instead, I'm being taught how to hate. And I thought, I can hate just fine on my own. What am I doing here? And I stood up and I walked out of the Mormon church at age 44. And I have spent the past 7 years deconstructing all of the horrible indoctrination, the Christian nationalism, the white supremacy, and my discriminatory views on other people, so that I can have compassion for single moms and my LGBTQ friends and the First Nations neighbors that I'm surrounded by here in my state of Arizona. And it's absolutely been a process, and it wasn't a happy one. I didn't leave the Mormon church going, "Whee, I'm out of here." No, I left the Mormon church and tried to take my life. That's why I'm called Life Take Two, because I survived that. Because when my whole worldview crashed down, I was confused and disoriented, and again, lost all my family and lost everything. And it's been a really difficult journey. But here I am.
Yeah, I wanted her to get to that. So, I mean, dude.
So I'll definitely talk about this more
Mhm.
when we do our mental health episode.
Yeah.
But I've been there. I've been there where I've just felt like I have nothing, and I'm so alone, and I can't like pick myself up from this.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even imagine what she went through to have to literally lose everyone and to pick up all those pieces and then change her worldview because she knew something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I give her nothing but love and respect for that, because that's not easy. When you are at your lowest and you think that there's no way out, then you learn after a while that the only way out is up, because you can't go lower.
Mm-hmm.
And that feeling of wanting to end your own life, I would not wish that on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
Because your mind just goes to a place that I know now that I'll never be there again, but it's just, and so yeah, I give, just hearing that and all of that, like, I give her nothing but love and respect. And the fact that she's out here now, just trying to make a difference and trying to show more people the light, because that's very true when it comes to, like, and it's not just like the Mormonism and like evangelical Christians.
Mm-hmm.
Like, religion as a whole is not supposed to teach you to hate. Like, Jesus and God, it was all about love and acceptance. It wasn't about your skin color. It wasn't about your sexual orientation. It wasn't about what you believed in. And like, I don't know how we got here so far with like all of these different things that people just hate, even though they know nothing about.
I think I know. I think I know. I think it's actually quite simple. It's lack of education. It's it's the bubble that we were talking about earlier.
Well, and
It,
especially all of the
a lot of people prey on, these aren't the people that start these type of things aren't starting them with good intentions.
no.
So, like this new one that's getting started up, this is not good intent. These people are not like trying to be all hunky dory. They are literally building something out of hatred. Like you can't build on that. That is not a good foundation to build anything on. So and they're over here trying to lure people in to like a trap pretty much to get money and just gain power and spread hate because it spreads so easily because they're wolves in sheep's clothing. Like how she said how they were going around and pretty much like trying to like almost forcing people like
It
down
was
to force people into their religion. Like
well,
there's no good intent here.
it was
This
also
is
predator.
all just nastiness,
It was also predatory.
very much so. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the word I would you exactly. Yes, very
I
much so.
got you. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Thank
you
you.
know, I think the thing too that doesn't help, and this is going to go down a rabbit hole, so just try to give me a minute to get there. But
Right.
when we're in, this goes back all the way to like when we're in school, and people want you to be around other people that have similar interests as you. And then
Mhm.
that makes you think that you belong somewhere and you're accepted. And that sticks with you like as you get older. And then you're around these people who are like have some different views about stuff and you think, "Oh, well, I don't really believe that, but my friends who are in this with me do, so maybe I'll just let it slide." And then that shit just builds and
Mhm.
builds to where like we are now. Does that make any sense?
No, it makes 100 like 100 complete sense for sure. Um It's problematic. So, and yes, so lack of, just being in these. I mean, we could go back around. Let's let her finish off because I'm pretty sure she's pretty much almost done, and then let's do like a roundup of like what we think we can use out of this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Mostly free of hate in my heart. I didn't leave Christianity, by the way, until 2 years ago. I spent almost 5 years there, broke up with Jesus 2 years ago. And that's about the same time that I left MAGA, when I finally stepped entirely away from my religious community and the election was coming up. And why did I leave MAGA? Because for the first time with this new empathy for other people, having deconstructed all the like cult of America propaganda that I had been indoctrinated with since birth, I started to look at the people in my MAGA movement and in the Republican Party and Donald Trump himself with new eyes. And I heard some of the things coming out of his mouth, and I could see for the first time ever, this is a hateful human, and I don't want anything to do with this. So it was just 2 years ago, as the election was kind of starting to get off the ground and Donald Trump was just announcing he was going to run again, that I stepped away and started looking into political parties. And as I read through, what do the Democrats stand for? What do the Republicans stand for? I realized I'm actually not a Republican at all. I was voting on hate. I was voting purely to protect the unborn and keep gay people from living happy lives. And I will end this by saying that I'm probably more of an anarchist than anything. It would be nice if we had a complete societal shift, maybe everything collapsed and we went back to a more sustainable form of tribalism with some egalitarianism. I would love to see a matriarchy. I am pro land back. Let's let the Navajos run America. I'm all for that. And I absolutely have not jumped into the Democratic cult. I know that there are problems in both. And the beautiful thing is that I now lead my life with critical thinking and the analysis of facts and evidence instead of just pure emotional religious indoctrination. Turns out my good old fashioned public school education freed me in the end. So I would love to hear from you in the comments as long.
Okay, so we seem to have gotten through it.
Do you
What you
notice?
think, Katie? What you think as a whole? As a whole, what y'all think in the comments too? I want to know. Y'all better be coming in and talking to us because I think that this was a pretty interesting kind of story time, kick it sesh where we got to really experience something kind of like that was a good story. And I like to know a lot about people. I'm a storyteller myself, fantasy novel writer, but I like to hear stories of other people, and hers is lightweight fucked up. I ain't gonna hold you. So
Do you notice how she jumped from one cult to another?
a little
She
bit
was like, I
right
was a
at the end.
Mormon, then I was in the Christian with Christianity, and then I was MAGA. It's like
Yeah,
that's the problem is a lot of these people feel like they need a sense of self in something, but then they make that their whole self.
mm-hmm.
And like I like to think that I'm a pretty well-rounded like person because I do stuff like this and stuff with We the People, but then I'm also a musician and I see a lot of people that way. And then like my life where I live now versus when I go back to like my hometown area and see my family, I adapt with, like my surroundings and stuff. So I'm not just like Katie the musician or Katie the activist or whatever.
Right.
And yeah.
No, and one thing that she did say at the end, oh, let's let the Navajo run America. Like, girl, there are more than one Native American tribe, so
Isn't there like hundreds,
yes, let's
basically?
slow that down.
Yeah.
Like,
She's getting there though. She's
yeah,
getting
yeah, but good on you. But
yeah.
no, I think that's a very good story and one that came into proximity of me right at the right time when I was alerted about what's going on with this whites only town, because that's pretty much what I think the ideology of these people in this new town that they're talking about, it's pretty much going to be that. And sever look at all Amish and shit. But I don't know, but it doesn't sound good. This shit is abuse. One thing that she did say um that alerted me, she was like, why is this legal? This shouldn't be, like, it sounds like extremely abusive. Like that was just a top
There's
layer
also
of like this shit. I'm pretty sure that there could be some real dark shit going on
there's also
in that type of environment. And I think she just skimmed the top of the surface, because I look how she was just ready to break down in tears
multiple
like at any
times.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some really fucked up shit, and I think that some of these people might need to be investigated or looked into, or some people might need to be rescued out of these fucking places. That's what it
Except
sounds
now, except instead now they are allowed to promote political candidates.
like. Yeah, you're right.
And it's not just that, there's, the abuse as well, but then there's also the hate speech that
Yep.
probably
That
goes
just
on
spreads
beyond
like wildfire.
and all of just the predatory stuff. Like, if they can't even get it reined in with the Catholic Church, and I'm not saying all priests are bad, I'm not saying all of them are, but you think they're going to rein in these Christian people? That's what worries me. Is I feel so bad, especially for like the kids. Also,
Yeah.
my mama bear instinct. Like, I just have such a soft spot because like they don't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
And now too, with like all the stuff that's happening with education and like saying that the 10 Commandments has to be in schools or every kid has to have a Bible. It just I it's just
We
setting us
have
up for
really
failure.
found ourselves into some fucking shit, dude. I mean, we are in some shit. I
Thankfully though,
I'm getting a little worried. I'm not comfortable
so
anymore with
Pennsylvania,
what's going on right now.
Pennsylvania where I live just sued the Trump administration for withholding all the money that was promised to education in the state, and we won. And it was like almost $250 million, and we won. Which is, that's a big deal, because like I know my husband's school was already talking about like budget cuts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a huge deal. And
for sure it is.
People love to rag on Josh Shapiro, but he's getting shit done.
Yeah, for sure. No, you guys got a good governor. We got a good one within Gavin Newsom. I'm very happy that we have him right now. He's doing his damn thing. I'm happy with them. I'm fine with them. I don't want to hear no shit talking, because fuck, they are fucking us up out here in California.
In an age and a time where we have unlimited resources literally in our hands, in our like phones and our computers, I can't believe still how just disconnected we all are, and how people just don't want to like research things that are easily researched, or like fact check things that it's easily you can fact check. Because then too, you also wrote into like, well, what is really real, what isn't? And it's like, why can't we just tell the truth? These lies, man, like they just jump all over the place. Like what?
I know. And I just feel like, haven't we had enough? Doesn't anybody would just want to like relax and chill now? Are we
right?
Why are we doing all this? Who is having fun doing all this shit right now? Like, who is having fun with this? I don't get it. None of this is fun. None of this is worth it. For just these stupid ass people, I just don't get it. What?
I think I saw in Congress. Maybe it was the Senate, and they were talking about stuff with like the billionaires, and they were like, y'all are really doing this for 83 billionaires in this country,
thinking you better get a piece of the pie or something,
right? Like, if I ever, and I know I probably never will, but if I ever had money like Bill Gates or Elon Musk, I would set some aside for me and some stuff for my family. But I know for a fact that like the stuff on my list would be like, it wouldn't be stuff just for me, it would be for us. But I would then open like food banks and homeless shelters and take care of my community and like take care of people. And can you imagine?
Dude, those people could use like a little like droplet of their a droplet of their money and help people out. Like, they wouldn't even notice it was gone. Like, don't even. All right. What's the positive? What is the positive of what we got from this video here at Storytime today?
There's always a way out. Even if you can't see it, and you're not alone. Someone's been there.
Yeah.
And you have to validate that, yes, this is scary. Living in this shit is scary. Getting out of this shit is scary. But no matter what, you are never completely as alone as you think you might be. That's what I got out of it anyway.
100. I would say that education and learning about other people and listening to other people's stories is 100% key, so that we can all connect and understand each other a little bit better and have an understanding of where people are and why they are here in this place in their life, and how we can all move forward in the best possible way. That's the only way we can do that is by trying to understand, hey, I ain't saying everybody out there is reachable. That's not what I'm saying. I am not saying that. Don't get it twisted. But the people that are, we got to keep an eye out for that. And it's really all about just being curious and listening. Listening in those environments where you can share with others in a safe space and stuff. That's where you get the real shit. you know?
I think
So,
something that popped into my head too that we have to just realize is people are not like everything that you see on the surface. Now, there are some terrible, awful people out there, like Trump and all his people. They've shown us time and time again that they are awful and they're evil, and I have no pity for people like them. But there's people like the woman in this video who are like, again, it's like that picture of the iceberg where above the water you see like a little bit, and then underneath it's like this huge figure of ice underneath. And that's what a lot of these people are. And it is huge for someone like her to be able to recognize where she was wrong and try to rectify that, because that takes a lot of strength too.
yeah, and then even talking about what it looks like that she was going through,
Yeah.
for sure. So shout out to you, Madame Jenny. Keep it up and keep doing what you're doing, because it's important, and I hope that you reach other people, because it just sounds like they need people like you, and it sounds like your community needs help.
We need people
If
like
you can
that.
get more people out of that, the better. Anyway,
Because, like, when it comes to YouTube, especially, like, you don't find a lot of people that are, like, right in the middle, kind of, that, like, can see they were on the one side and they looked at the other side and they're like, I don't know. But, like, they still see reason and stuff. But you just see a lot of, like, the crazy MAGA, but then you see the other side, too. Whew. Like,
yeah, you do. All right, you ready to head up on out of here?
I gotta go to bed. It's midnight.
Yeah, hey, it's 9 o'clock. It's ready to lay down and do the snoozing and nightcap or whatever I gotta do, brush my teeth. All right, y'all. So I hope you guys enjoyed this story time reaction video episode with me and Katie. This is kind of our like late night kick it session. I actually really quite enjoy these.
Yeah, definitely. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They're also
So
enlightening, too.
yeah, I always learn something really new every time we kind of just dive deeper in and just go in on some shit, you know?
And if you
So
see a video out there and you're like, they should talk about this, send it to us.
yeah, send it over. So yeah, we might go ahead and watch it with you. Anyway, so we got tomorrow 4:30 Pacific, and what time is that?
7:30
7:30 Mountain Time,
Eastern time.
Eastern Time, and
On Friday.
and then we also have our Friday roundtable, and Mondays the Millennial Gaze at 4:30, 7:30, all the time. So anyway, y'all, I hope you guys had a good bedtime story with me and Katie. We the people. We'll see you next time.
P.U. Somebody's diaper's full again.
This is a witch hunt! The Epstein files were supposed to be sealed! Wah! Wah!
Told ya.
We the people unite.